So it's time to check out Battleground number 2 here. And they are opting to give up the Battleground choice. They want the first pick, and for HeroesHearth, they're picking Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Tomb of the Spider Queen, pretty much same dynamic when it comes to most of the Battleground rules as Dragonshire, so I feel like when looking at this, it really doesn't put any team in major direction, because both of these teams, not only because HeroesHearth is picking it, they've been, when they first entered HGC, one of the few teams that likes smaller Battlegrounds with wave clear and some of the rotations around that. All of NA kind of likes that now, but somehow HeroesHearth, one of the few, still sticking to the Tomb of the Spider Queen.
One thing that will be fun to watch with Talking Trees in for this weekend is that he is the ultimate flex player. We saw him on Thrall last game. That's where we see a lot of North American flex players go to. Again, it was all initiated by Tempo Storm. They did that. Fan was on that Thrall, and there were a lot of it started to trickle down towards other teams, even other regions at this point. We can see that again here from Talking Trees. He actually plays a pretty good Li Ming himself. Obviously, I think anytime Li Ming's being played, it's going to be a Kroan hero. But he can also play the Hanzo. That's very important because we know that Kroan loves to play mages at times. We haven't seen the Jaina in what feels like forever. We also saw the combo just last weekend. The Cursed Bullet into the Lurking Arm with the low blow at level 1, getting that bonus damage to heroes under 30%. So you get that Cursed Bullet damage, rip apart that health bar, get the initiation, and they could do that with the Johanna, that style with the Greymane. Curious if they might run a similar strategy. They have the tools to do that in their arsenal this weekend.
For me, what I would like to see out of all those that you kind of listed is another Kroan on the Hanzo, purely because not only is it entertaining to be able to watch, but then also it's just we're getting a small Is Redemption build viable again, kind of thought process, not only for North America, but even within Europe and other parts of the world here. So I just like it for one of our most prominent Redemption Tomb of the Spider Queen players. You know, I think this is a perfect sign. How good is it if Kroan just brings it out, ends up being very dominant with here and seeing the control. There are picks and bans that need to come online before that does happen here, as conveniently enough, the draft is getting underway. But that was what I would love to see for HeroesHearth Esports.
For LFM, I'm really curious on the Murden priority. It's something that we know that Fury shines a lot on.
Yeah.
He doesn't really like to play the Johanna as much as some of the other warriors, and even in other regions we don't see as much Johanna, but it's like once you get past the Garrosh, once you get past the Murden, it's like, all right, where do we kind of fit? And I think the scary part is that if your first pick is LFM, you have to make the decision. Do I want Yrel or do I want Deckard, unless you're going to ban one of those out? And if you pick up the Yrel and you give up the Deckard, then you potentially have so much control over a Garrosh. Let's say maybe HeroesHearth picks up a Deckard Murden for themselves. And then it's just like, all right, what are you going to play? If you want this Garrosh, then by all means have it, Fury. We'll just slow you down time after time and root you with the Deckard. It's been a very good strategy that's developed here in North America.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. And also, on the note of Murden and some of the things that we've seen from him, one thing that I find pretty interesting that, you know, I want to know if we're going to ever see come to light moving forward is, since there was some of the adjustments on the reworks that have come through, an older playstyle to Murden, I think, has become viable since the removal of turret ammo and such. And that is using the Stormbolt damage at 4 for just chip damage. You actually just, rather than prioritizing heroes to get to stack, on Tomb of the Spider Queen, throw a couple Stormbolts, just hit a turret, and just be like, wow, look how much bonus damage we're getting. A couple of those deep on Battlegrounds like Tomb, Dragonshire, any wave clear-oriented map, that strategy actually was really, really valued to setting up that first objective. Just, you know, some theory crafting that I feel like it has come back as a possible strategy here. We'll find out, though. No Murden yet, as he is let through there, but we do probably equally, if not more scary in my eyes here, the Maiev.
Well, the Maiev also, one of the early...
Abathur was let through. I don't know why we expect any
One
different.
of the early counters when we saw Maiev was just to pick Johanna. That was during the Maiev Garrosh days when they were at the top, and then Johanna was like, well, that's nice. You tether me, I can just Iron Skin and walk away. So Johanna is picked up, but they also get the Abathur. And I think that's the main thing for HeroesHearth, is that they'll run this solo support. Abathur, and they'll be like, deal with it. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, and kill potential compositions struggle into Abathur a lot because they normally suffer at early game macro pressure, which is one of the biggest weaknesses that you see on an Abathur. Going to be made up for a little bit there by Blaze picked up for LFM within their 2-3. But then it also removes a body. So it just removes one of those kill potential opportunities. You legitimately are removing the experience capabilities of a team that is relying on kill potential, which is why the Abathur Johanna 1-2 with the response of a first pick Maiev is very clever here from HeroesHearth.
Can't kill what you can't tether. that's what
Which is that little slug back at base. Good thing Mephisto's coming out so we can just one-shot him.
See, so we're getting the Jimmy Raider ban. For LFM, if they saw the drafts from this one, I would be terrified of the Greymane here. I think Johanna makes up for the lack of wave clear that comes in from potentially a Phoenix, Rainer, things, the standard auto attackers. And then you get the Greymane, who does suffer in the wave clear department. But if you make up with that with Johanna, you can be more flexible with your ranged assassins. And that's something that HeroesHearth definitely does, especially when they started going into that Sins Exposed at level 4.
And that's some of those, what you're highlighting there is one of those things that you hear me kind of talk about a lot, especially when heroes like Hanzo, is how they fill an element within their role that nobody within their role fills. And whenever you have that, they're actually extremely valuable, because that essentially enables all your assassins to be, what if we don't pick the wave clear one because my warrior has it there? The same thing happens when looking at what support you want to pick up and why. As we do get the backliners now coming through for HeroesHearth. It's going to be a Dahaka. Interesting choice there, especially on Tomb, but after Mac in that last game, I'm not going to lie, I feel like you could play it on any battleground, and I'd be like, yep, that's going to be terrifying.
I wonder if there's any world where HeroesHearth actually just plays an Abathur and then everything else standard. Like, just, nah, it's fine. We'll just run a support here, and then we'll just, probably not.
It does give them that individual self-sustain, which I think is some of the thought process there behind that. Whitemane and Junkrat, final selection for LFM. Normally when you pick the Maiev, you want somebody with a little bit more reliable single target focus damage to get out and get that kill.
Yes.
I feel like that is something that I'm concerned of here. Outside of a Riptire, they don't really have that single target burst to get the follow-up damage to a tether.
Yeah, that's the thing is that Maev's greatest success is when you're paired with another melee assassin. I wondered if they would go Tracer. They are going to go Tracer. It's when you're paired with another melee assassin, it takes away some of the pressure of that other backliner, because if you get the tether in and Diablo gets a flip back, you get a tether in, you get a follow-up from Blaze, they could still walk away from that Dread. That's the scariest part, is that Tracer's going to be hard to lock down. Phoenix obviously can warp out. Dahaka can always just go underground. Johanna has Iron Skin. So your kill targets are very difficult to get a hold of. So when you do get a hold of them, you want to make sure that you get the value out of that synergy that you're drafting. And if you don't get the kills with the Junkrat, who are you going to get the kills? So I 100% agree with you. It does scare me a little. You obviously have wave clear. It plays well to the map. You have displacement for days.
Yeah.
But can you kill him?
Yeah, I think it's that mixture with the, also there is no wave clear problem by HeroesHearth Esports. Between the Phoenix, Dahaka, and the Johanna, they got everything they needed. Now they have successful laners with a unkillable support that's providing healing at any point in time with a pesky Tracer that's going to be really annoying. Whitemane, not going to struggle too much into that depending on how good she is with her lashes for the most part, but it does feel like LFM will initiate, not get that kill, and if they don't, then it's like, okay, watch this global Abathur just kind of snowball this game out of control.
That is the thing, is generally the Tracer is a good pickup, because when you're a Tracer player, and trust me, man, like nowadays, like I play Tracer and I'm like, boy, I don't trade out very well, and you're auto attacking me back. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it's not fun. Junkrat doesn't really provide that type of pressure in return. So we'll find out here in game number 2 if LFM does have what it takes. Obviously, you know, again, with the Junkrat, the wave clear's there, but we're going to see if they have what it takes in these team fights.
Even if you manage to hit every grenade on a Tracer, which at this level of play is an unreliable statement at all, that should just not be a thing. But as long as that is, you know, even if that goes down, you go, wow, this is not necessarily the advantageous matchup that Tracer typically has according to most meta backliners. Level 1 pickup there for LFM. We didn't get the adjustment there for the bad habits. That is currently one of my favorite talents, especially on battlegrounds like Tomb of the Spider Queen. Not too much hard crowd control to be afraid of here in this game, other than the Condemned Blessed Shield, or maybe the Drag, probably the highest threat there from HeroesHearth.
Well, it is going to be Krone on the Tracer. We've seen some flexibility at times, especially around the roster previously. Obviously for this weekend, we'll continue to evaluate as this goes on, but this is a hero that Krone, you know, on his come up into the pro scene and the pro level, definitely made a very good name for himself on the Tracer.
One of his more standout heroes, as you've said, already got off lane pressure coming out from him towards Blaze on the bottom half. Great job by HeroesHearth Esports, exactly what they need to do. And Jayhow, every time we see HeroesHearth play, a, wow, beautiful burrow there from McIntyre.
Oh, and he's going to try and turn it. He almost got Fury. If he gets Fury there, that might be more threatening. This is a very early Diablo.
Yeah.
He tried to thread the needle, but Swabs had none of it.
That was very well done here by HeroesHearth Esports. Well, all I was going to say is that HeroesHearth Esports, every time they play an Abathur comp, I will highlight it. If they are not getting early game pressure against them, you're already a step behind. That is the beauty of Abathur. And look at that. Early game,
just bottom, forward.
They just walked up to the structure, took half of a turret. This is a big, big advantage here for HeroesHearth. Pulse Bomb goes down.
Early Pulse Bomb. It feels so weird now. I hadn't played Tracer in a while, right? So I'm playing Tracer yesterday.
Oh, that shadow.
Ooh. And I'm sitting there, I got a Pulse Bomb in. I'm like, oh yeah, this is free. And I walk away. They walk away with like 50 health. I'm like, man, new Pulse Bomb changes. I mean, it's been a while, right? Tracer, I miss her heydays.
I miss him too. Only when it was under my mouse and keyboard. Every time I was against it, I was over it.
Ooh, just misses
Iron Skin drop too. Tether barely just loses the timeout there. Very last second. Great job by Ishbu though. Understanding cooldowns and able to maintain distance effectively to not get pulled back in.
The early advantage for now in favor of HeroesHearth. The trade out onto Tracer, I think, is just so difficult, Dread. Just reiterating the fact that getting trade poke damage from a ranged hero in any form or fashion against the Tracer is so powerful, and they just don't consistently have that. Crowan is just running anywhere on this map with that hat, and all he needs is that small supplemental healing from the Abathur.
But maybe a two-man tether that could gain some value. Swabs into backing out there. Is another knives out from Droplet's. Going to attempt a 9-gem turn-in. McIntyre not going to, never mind. Max range Dark Swarm gets the interrupt there. Nope, never mind. I lied again. He actually got the web, or he actually got the gems turned in. Good job by LFM. They need to make sure that if they go for a web weaver phase, this is something we've seen against HeroesHearth Esports, especially now on Tomb of the Spider Queen. If they run with that solo Abathur, you're going to see a mule pickup. You need to make sure that you're focusing down either only front walls, or if you commit to a fort, commit to that fort.
Yeah, it might be a little risky, but the reward factor is definitely going to be there, especially the long run. And you think about the experience commitment that's going to be there. Figgy carefully
Pulse Bomb taking
going
with
forward.
Fury able to dodge that drag out from McIntyre here. Very offensive early game from HeroesHearth Esports. As we stated a little bit earlier, though, that is not something that you should want to hear if you're an LFM fan, purely based on that they should not have as good of early game pressure that they do have here, able to keep up and control, dictate a lot of these rotations. As the Night Camp pushing out, going to be pretty easily dealt with here by Crowan.
I like the fact that Figgy just puts the concussion mine, and that's the circle that he lives in. He's like, look, if there's any CC, I live on this circle, I will survive. And who won't survive? Talking Trees will, as I thought the warp might have been interrupted.
His shield didn't survive, though.
His shield didn't survive.
So
that's what I meant.
Rip in pieces, Talking Trees shield. We're glad his health bar still remains with us, but, you know, the shield had to be replaced.
Level 7 now online for both these teams.
No mule, though. Didn't commit to it. Last time we did end up getting the mule, and I wonder now, is that purely on a response on the fact that that top fort was so low? Tether pulled back onto Crowan, but oh, baby, man, you could hear that thing just right past his ear there. That was close.
As much as Droplets hit that D key, I'm pretty sure it would have been late had the toggle landed. He sat on that, making sure, because you could use that to deal with the Pulse Bomb. There's some heals coming in from Chimera. As the game goes on, those Pulse Bombs become far more lethal. But yeah, if you're the Maiev player, as much as you don't want to take damage, you got to make sure and save the D there to make sure if the Pulse Bomb hits.
We do actually see at level 7, too, on Whitemane with the cleanse selection. We already talked about the difficulty with some of the cleanse targets already. Blessed Shield is a pretty good cleanse opportunity, but very rarely do you get a pre-cleanse onto that because you're going to eat a stun.
Yeah.
And then when you eat the stun, hold on, Crowan eating a stun here, should have a recall available, but it would put him in a really bad spot because he's running away from the team. It'll only pull him back. Figgy, can he force it?
Wow.
There it
is.
A
recall right in there, and he's going to come back. He's going to be the melee into the kill with the hat on there, calculated, but Droplet says, hold on a second.
I've never seen Crowan just look at a player and say, I've got this. I am ready to just control this better than that there. To take a risky recall like that.
Oh, Dark Chimera. Talking Trees was getting mad value there. Yeah, that was calculated.
It was
100% calculated.
Yeah, because otherwise he would have recalled earlier just out of attempt to hopefully get the escape early. Fury Gonna need the escape at some point. Not gonna be there though as Mac lands another drag. Ishbu was interrupted on a double turn-in attempt as Blaze sneakily drops in enough for Webweaver phase here for LFM.
So not going to push out. I always find that it's always an interesting situation in this manner, is that you want your waves to push out for the spawning of the Webweavers, but sometimes it's better to just stagger your waves instead of fast clearing that. Obviously, if McIntyre doesn't come down, he can stagger his waves. That's why he didn't go out and try and get the last few hits on that target. Something that you can make use out of. But we did see the mines there controlling some of those rotations through that bot lane. We'll keep an eye on that, though.
Blaze getting the solo push on bottom here by himself, while the clear of HeroesHearth Esports focused through mid. Still no heroics picked up for LFM, so very little sieging opportunities available here with this Webweaver phase. It's going to be a pretty big setback there, J-How.
Yeah, level 10 will be here momentarily. We'll see if LFM opts to try and force the issue. Ishbu, of course, obviously not a good target there on the Johanna. So we're waiting to see Whitemane. Are we getting a containment disc for a follow-up? The Warden's Cage. Because of the warp opportunities, the burrow opportunities, the iron skin opportunities, still too early. But you have a lot of targets that just don't care about the Warden's Cage. So I think there is some contemplation there as Fury goes in, gets the charge onto Phoenix, but the warp's still there.
I think the same argument exists that we also have within the draft itself, based on the lack of people to follow up and get a single target kill into the Warden's Cage, that I actually like the containment disc, splitting up targets and, you know, making HeroesHearth Esports kind of get caught out here as we see the stun coming through actually onto Figgy. He gets a concussion mine coming out. There is the containment disc, but the salvo used, and as we said, containment disc delay.
It's still going though.
Mission accomplished.
The kill. It gets the kill. There was no follow-up interrupt. BBJ still surviving on that clone, so getting a lot of damage. There's going to be the bunker. Fury trying to survive, but here comes a pulse bomb from Kroan. Doesn't confirm the kill just yet, but they do finally get the takedown, and that is Soul's reset on Diablo.
41 gems now turned in as well for Ishbu. First Webweaver phase picked up now for HeroesHearth Esports. And because the 10 advantage in favor of HeroesHearth, the last time we got LFM's Webweaver phase, I can't help but feel like this is really a breaking point here for HeroesHearth Esports, as this is their first Webweaver, and with the talent, or with the level lead that they have, just one successful skirmish, one successful siege. That's 13 Palantir and probably a lot of structures behind.
Yeah, obviously the front towers don't give a lot, but at this stage of the game, the power level of the Webweavers, your own power level, 1-4, as you said, could give that 13 threat, and then it just allow HeroesHearth, if they want to get even more aggressive than they already have been, Dread, maybe dive behind that. But also what they can do is just controlling the pushes, Kroan going up, controlling the wave clear. If you look at the minimap, if those are all pushed in, they have enough enough gems for another Webweaver turn-in if they can control these lanes in the push, and that bottom lane is going to be the last to respond to here by LFM.
Maybe LFM will force with the 4 versus 3 that they have on mid here for a moment. It's not so much a full 4 versus 3, but it's one of the better skirmishes they're probably going to be able to find, and knowing Dahaka on a different part of the battleground where he doesn't have an easy brush stock opportunity. Not committing yet here for LFM. Bottom Webweaver not been cleared up. This is a smart play from LFM, not getting that rid of as fast as they possibly could, not giving a free turn-in opportunity for HeroesHearth while they still have the 13 Palantir advantage. But now that it's been rid of, 5 seconds out, 13 will not be here. Can LFM goaltend well enough? As already McIntyre prepping to turn in down below.
Should be able to get this. There's interrupt number 1. Fury going to move forward. Speaking of moving forward, Junkrat, he's moving backwards, and that's back home because he's dead.
In the Hall of Storms there. J-How, and if you can turn in and get a kill like that, like to give you an idea of how far ahead HeroesHearth Esports, especially now that this Webweaver phase is coming online, it is miles, even though the experience and such is not quite at that level, because the Abathur composition and the power spike level that they are kind of hitting now. This is a tough moment for LFM, and we'll see if they can find ways to hold on. Good job there backing out of that situation. Ishbu surely would have just gotten an open flank, Blessed Shield, condemn into drag, and set up another kill here. But now LFM, they get their 13s as the Webweavers join us on Tomb.
They're looking for a potential flank onto that Blaze, and you mentioned one of the ways to defend against the Webweaver Dreadnought would have been had they been able to keep anybody alive, and even if it was anybody other than Junkrat, Blaze was on that camp, didn't start that night camp, and sometimes that's one of the better defensive tools that you can use against the Webweavers. They were unable to accomplish that, so now they're just giving up a lot of free push in these lanes, and HeroesHearth, you look up at the top, all of a sudden have amassed a 2-level lead here over HeroesHearth. We are still on even talents here, so if they can find a fight here.
Ended up getting damage onto Fury, and the Lightning Breath coming out, but the Blessed Shield damage onto Ishbu as the drag ends up landing there. The Containment Disc interrupts the drag as the Riptire goes through. Or Droplets, excuse me, not able to get the follow-up there after the skirmish, and HeroesHearth do end up making it out now and can rely on that 16 talent tier advantage. And Jayhow, they have a lot of gems in store still.
Yeah, you know what's better than back-to-back?
Triple play.
Back-to-back.
Let's go.
Three-peats all day. They've got enough for another turn in 10 seconds until they're able to turn those in. It's a matter of, well, they have 16. There's no real threat for them to fight back. Do they want to try and pick up a camp? Do they want to try and couple this with the Knights? Do they want to try and get the Siege? Do they even try and get cheeky and make a play on the boss? You can see there will be some goaltending by LFM, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. Instead, we don't see any camps started. Tracer
tried.
Just missed.
Yeah.
There was some miscommunication there, Dread.
I think what it was is scouting for vision, and as they talked about it, they saw that at the top left, once Fury showed, they were like, oh, he's going to interrupt, but he didn't interrupt. So they put it in a position where it was like, oh, because he's contesting, we can't take the risk on this, but Chrome wasn't in position. Also, Swabs, not so much in position there, as that was a great isolation use there. No jet propulsion bunker play available. Droplets going in for a couple gems. I believe he got about 7 for himself there.
Yeah, look, they could have amplified the push, could HeroesHearth have, but make no mistake about it, they still have a 2-level lead and talent tier advantage and this dominant wrecking ball coming at LFM. So LFM still has a tough defense here. They do have the Junkrat. Blaze 10 seconds away, but that crucial Blaze clear is missing. It's very noticeable here as this bot lane is just being pushed in, and there's not a lot that we see LFM able to do about it.
Krillin starting the siege there on that Tracer. Prepping up the Pulse Bomb, have it available. Going in, drop the Pulse Bomb. Dark Chimera able to heal up. Keep, though, not going to share the same fate as the health bar as Dark Chimera as it goes down. First keep of the game for LFM, or excuse me, for HeroesHearth as they cycle pressure outward now. JL, with all those gems, triple turn in and top keep going down, this is boss into lethal through top lane. Seems to be the decision making from HeroesHearth. The last play
seems hold this. They need to commit. I was gonna say, losing a keep, the amount of damage that catapults put out. Now, obviously, this boss should take this down unless it's defended, but losing a keep there is far worse. Nice cleanse onto Fury as we saw the isolation used. That might be enough to buy time, but catapults defending against Webweavers is one of the best defenses you can have, the best natural defense. So I think for LFM holding on to that, I mean, it still could get sniped, but if they do manage a turn in, that is a very clutch defense on that keep.
It is. To be able to hold that on and not have Swabs kind of dealing with that into the off lane, which he is currently doing, and likely will be for some time. 121 gems for LFM. When they pick up the 16, they can force the hand. Nobody on HeroesHearth has shown. Now, LFM, with Fury hitting that top shrub, they know that he's there. McIntyre will pick up the bottom Giants. Already 2 catapults mounting kind of on bottom. So here's the interrupt with bottom pressure onto the core over the next 45 seconds. HeroesHearth Esports have now set LFM and put them on a timer, but unable to get that interrupt. Now that timer, not so relevant.
Well, I think the best part about this is that, again, holding on to that top keep, now they just have to prioritize clearing out one lane. If it's just 2 lanes, you basically get pushed through mid and not much else. You can actually see Tracer might be looking to snipe that with a Pulse Bomb, maybe. Yeah, Tracer's actually just going to go in, maybe not even need it. There's going to be the Abathur hat. That adds a lot of defense. Also, we see a change up for Diablo. The amount of collapse. Diablo now has the second
he has no recall.
Overpower charge.
His recall will put him into that shrub where he just was, as we see the Blessed Shield coming out. A lot of time there. Dark Chimera falling extremely low. There is the Pulse Bomb. Recall comes through as the 4-man tether out from Droplets, but he's kind of on an island there as he gets the follow through. Swabs now trying to kite out with the rest of the team. BBJ is just a clone as he ends up going down. LFM bringing the fight there after that backdoor on the keep.
They get 1 tower down in the top lane. The middle, it's going to be a 2nd tower, but the middle was responded to with that night camp, and you can see the effects of a catapult defending here in the bot lane as this has not been pushed out. LFM does have enough, I believe, for another turn-in. See if they try and force it with no support there. We'll see how aggressive they choose to be, but with Catapult still in the top and bottom, this is still a tough comeback for LFM, especially now the fact that HeroesHearth is rounded 20.
This is the moment where I feel HeroesHearth can, you know, display their caliber as a roster. This is one of the common elements that you see on Tomb of the Spider Queen is you have the major advantage, but no win conditions remaining. Boss is too risky. What do you end up doing here? This seems like pressure there as you see McIntyre come through after that Blessed Shield, getting the damage out and getting the kill onto Junkrat. Lightning Breath coming through. It is 1-for-1 here as Fury ends up picking up a kill and the team dropping in the Bucker. Containment disc now onto Ishbu.
Oh, that drag. McIntyre, Kron, no pulse bomb yet, so no threat of lethal going in, but he's trying to stack that up. There goes Droplets in on the Maiev, threatening the mine, slowing down on the backside. We've got Phantom Knife's resets there. That's actually forcing them to walk away. There's going to be the recall. Kron trying to survive. Clone coming out, or excuse me, the hack coming on.
There's 2 catapults on top, but that's not enough to get damage at any point here. This is very important here for HeroesHearth Esports. They have 2 catapults down below, too. Junkrat's up in 10. Dark Mare now falling low. He gets the heals. He comes through and actually holds on. Tether ends up going as we see the jet propulsion now. Crowan diving on the back line there. No pulse bomb yet, but no pulse bomb needed as he comes in, gets 1, gets 2, and it looks like it might be all she wrote here as the pulse bomb goes through. 4 for nothing here now for HeroesHearth Esports, and damage already done to the core.
HeroesHearth Dreadnought keeping up with the theme of game number 1 is, look, it might not always be pretty, but we can get a lot of kills, and eventually it just amounts to too much. I mean, you could ask for quicker games, I guess, but for HeroesHearth coming in, they got the sub. They're achieving what they want with a lot of the control.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems that it's ramping up. It's ramping up, it's ramping up. I mean, obviously they had some early control in Dragonshire, ended up closing it out. Here, Tomb of the Spider Queen, a lot of early game control. They gave up the first Web Weaver turn-in, but what they got in some of those rotations, especially playing around the Abathur, the Junkrat pickup, you and I mentioned it, it might not have had the trade out against the Tracer. We saw the Rainer banned by HeroesHearth. They picked up Phoenix for themselves, and then you're left with not many options beyond that. And Tracer early game was able to run rampant.
Yeah, and I think that level of kind of scaling that you're talking about with the pacing that we get here from HeroesHearth Esports, a lot of that I can't help but feel like reflects on that mid to late game decision making that HeroesHearth Esports was relying on, that I was talking about a little bit earlier with that kind of consistency. And that exactly is what I was talking about moving forward, that if they can learn to develop that and hone in on that and make it a bit more consistent, because we still got elements of it, right? Crowan instead is now our target, going backdooring, making sure they get that keep. And if they can find ways to refine that and work on that, not only within whoever that target is to be that new individual, but just as a whole unit, I truly do believe that this roster can actually elevate themselves even beyond their original stance.
I like what you're saying. I like that picture that we're painting. It's going to be fun to see how it plays out this weekend, because they've got some big matches here, obviously starting with LFM, the big one on Sunday versus Octalysis. But obviously we're here on Friday. We're here after game number 2. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back for game number 3 and see if HeroesHearth can close it out.